and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of OpDeck Operation Deceit, Blue Honor, and the Trailokya Trilogy. Today I'm going to read to you from the Lucent Rise, which is the third book in the Trailokya Trilogy series, the final book of Miles' story. I'm not quite sure by the time that this vlog goes up on the Blue Honor blog in July if it will be released yet, or this will be a preview. So either way, I kind of have to carry on, right? Just waiting for my cover, and once I get that, then I can start making plans for marketing. So the sooner the better, right? But regardless, you don't want to rush that work. You want your artists to have their time, because what they're going to create for you is a work of art. And I cannot complain about a single one of my covers. Scott does a fantastic job, and I think giving him that time to create and use whatever time he needs to create that will only help me in the long run. Plus, you're talking about his business as well. So anything that he puts out, of course, represents him and his work. So it's very serious business all the way around. And I'm really excited and cannot wait to see it. So I'm just going to read to you from the beginning of the book, and I do want to warn those people who are planning on to read the book series. If you have not read them yet, there could be spoilers. I think I picked a pretty tame area of the book. This is when they start getting more into the science fiction end of the story. So you're going to start meeting different races and stuff that are within samsara, more of the soul races, etc. So it's pretty interesting. And our guide is Siaya, who is one of Miles' alders, who also happens to be someone's mother. And I'll leave it at that. So let's carry on, shall we? All right, I'm going to look this way because my computer is in front of me and I don't have a printout to do this. So I'm not ignoring you. All right. Siaya moved with an air of importance. A wide passage was given to her by those in the lower hall. Her fellow alders took note, but then the crowd quickly went back to their business to pay her no more mind. The hallowed halls of the Alder Sanctuary, which made a network through the rock of the mountain, became narrower. Ceilings hung lower. The spaces grew plain, as though the workmen grew tired of their labors, having poured everything into carving the expansive estuaries below. No speck of dust marked a corner or crevice. These spaces were under constant care, though minimally used. Through a door shaped like a teardrop, bearing the shade of deepest crimson, Siaya entered a cavernous room where a reed of the perpetual light beamed into the center. A walkway reached out to the center, where it widened in a circle that provided a stage on which the light could play if it would. Instead, a polished opening allowed the light to pass into the infinite below. Upon entering the space, the perimeter of the polished platform illumined with the electric blue light that powered Zion. Siaya made her way to the opposite end and entered the coordinates. To her left, at some distance, a gate formed. Through the narrow opening came a heavily cloaked figure. Siaya joined the figure, and they passed through, leaving the gate open. How fair are things in samsara, Salathiel. Sorry. The messenger pulled back the hood of her cloak. Her lavender eyes peered ahead, a hint of frustration around them. Upon her head, the silver crown of her rank glared as they moved out of the passage into the bright light of Agart. Since the Moon Guardian's return, they've been calmed, but I cannot say that things will remain so. Their informants are keeping them apprised of her progress, while incarnated on Earth. I'm afraid they're growing restless. The way must be written. I hope I can convince them. As her alder, your assurances will go a long way, Salathiel said. In silence, the pair continued until they reached a tower that overlooked a great waterfall surrounded at all sides by a thick forest. Inside, they rode a strange glass elevator with brass fittings all the way to the top, where they emerged in a chamber that held a view of the great Agart distances, high above the surface of that world. Slaffiel presented her companion to the council, representing each species, save those outside of the United Watchers' orders of Samsara. Tsiaya stood before their dais with a harsh expression upon her features. She turned her back to the court of dignitaries. The ancient rose windows scattered colored light through the room, a vestige of a time Agart had nearly become the gates to Belial's ambitions. The representatives stood with a fist upon their breast and inclined their heads in respect to the Duda. It is with the utmost respect that we welcome you to our council, Elder Tsiaya, an elderly Agarshan addressed her. And yet you defy the word of the king who sends me, Phaon. It's not our intention to defy anyone but the prisoners of Jahannam and their leaders who threaten our peace. The Agarshan said, motioning the others to take their seats. He did the same. Would you have us risk our peoples for a single home, human or Duda? I would have you obey the orders given to you by Zion. What assurance can you give us that they follow orders and do not put our worlds at risk? Captain Mile is not working with the princess to open gates upon Earth, nor to undermine your authorities in this sector. She is following long-standing orders to save the life of a human who would have otherwise burned down. Do you no longer stand in accord with the creed, "We leave none behind," leader? Putting words in my mouth will not change the fact that there is an imminent threat of invasion, that this council and its army stand to avert such disaster. Pardon our interest in our business, Alder, another counselor answered for him. Tsiaya smirked, proud to have hit her mark. She doubted greatly that the reason behind an invasion of Earth had anything to do with shutting Jahannam's gates. Their own world provided plenty of openings for Belial and his ilk to creep through. The prince didn't boast a contingent of fallen Agarts because they were infallible. Why did they not target the outer worlds who refused to join the councils, or the others yet unaware of its existence who angrily defied them? Tsiaya knew very well that the humans were despised for some ill-perceived favor from the Duda races and the king. That perception was ill-placed, as each of these races produced Duda upon arising, if that was the path to which they aspired. Ever the diplomat, Tsiaya said. Phaon sat back in his chair, sensing that he had said too much. The good grace of the Duda wore thin. Indeed, had very serious considerations to make, which she would be sure to influence the moment they had time alone together. She cast her eyes over the assembly, picking who among them was malleable. The others regarded her with reluctance, holding their tongues, convinced that to interject their thoughts would only amuse her. Then a Setian female among the delegation, surprising for they were not nearly as bold or volatile as the Agarshan, continued the discussion. Alder Tsiaya, we have received intelligence that your son has been incarnated on Earth as part of a counter-mission. Should the captain need intercepting, the Setian said. Tsiaya eyed her, already knowing where they went with this. She saw the flicker of self-satisfaction in Phaon's eyes. Whispers went through the gathered court, sitting in view of the proceedings. Tsiaya swept her robes behind her to face them equally as bold. Would you condone a move by the Svarg to subjugate races of Samsara, by which to rule you all with an iron fist because you've let gates open on your worlds from the prisons of Jahannam? Should we remove your freedoms because some among you cavort openly with shadows? Silence met her questions. Tsiaya returned her attention to the counselors. Yes, my son is on Earth. Yes, he is poised to intercept Maya. The mission is to nullify the influence of Prince Belial, the influence Prince Belial seeks to gain on Earth. You and your court should be sympathetic to their plight, Phaon, if you recall your history, she said, eyes flicking to the rose behind him. After a pause, she continued, our counter plans will succeed if given time to do so. Interference will change that, and it makes me and my fellow alders wonder to what ends you're working. Are you suggesting that we're in league with Jahannam? A member of the taller Grails asked, appearing as outraged as he could on his nondescript face. Suggesting, counselor? No, I am outright asking, Siaya said. A rush of voices went around the room. Siaya detected the panic in the Samsarans. That was good. It meant she bought the planet more time. She waited patiently, hands clasped at her waist as they discussed her question. The room slowly returned to a brief silence, which was then erased by the whispers of the main council. We empathize with the mission of your watcher and the moon captain. If it is a request of the Alder of Zion to have us stand down, we shall do so. But heed this, Alder Siaya. Should the human break her, we will no longer hesitate to end this, Phaon replied. Battalion will be released in this sector if we're given further cause under strict orders to monitor the situation more closely, gather intelligence, and inform a position, so that if a threat arises, we're prepared to meet it. We will hold a vote, of course, to be certain that we all still agree on our people's survival, the Sishan added. Siaya smirked, giving them her back. She was followed out of the court by Salafiel. And your refusal to follow orders will be duly noted by the Council of Zion. Sorry, my screensaver popped up. Siaya called over her shoulder. Salafiel kept to the elder's side until they stood in the way chamber again. Siaya shut down the connection to Samsara as she was clearly irritated by the meeting. Her companion joined her, assessing her mood, and thought the better of offering any wisdom at the moment. He will finish this. He must, Siaya said. Siaya gathered her wits, then added, Get me an interview with Phaon. He will bend to my will, so help me. Their eyes met briefly before Siaya stalked from the room to return to other matters that hopefully assured such an outcome. Salafiel remained behind and kept her cares to herself. Siaya was thankful for that. Her temper would serve no use in flaying her colleague. In the end, how this would play out was up to Gedil. She could only do so much to influence the matter to her favor. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm sorry about my little blips and stuff reading. My screensaver popped up at some points and the type is super, super small, so I'm trying to read that so that I have the whole page, 2 pages up in Adobe. So don't forget to check out the Lucent Rise when it releases. And if you haven't started yet, start with the Shadow Soul, go to Burning Down, and then the Lucent Rise. Don't forget to subscribe here. See you next time.